What the reason why nobody knows is because here's what my competitor will do. They will come to your home and they'll be checking for stuff, a motor overamping, leaking oil, other things. Their whole goal is to come sell you something. And by the way, the client, all they know is this guy's going to try to sell me something. They're thinking it. And within 20 minutes, that's what's happening. And so the trust is just out the door pretty quick. And so a lot of those clients actually are now put on the market and come to us or come to some other competitor.
This episode is brought to you by 10X Nerds. If you're a business owner doing real revenue, there's a good chance you're overpaying in areas you haven't even looked at. Things like credit card processing, insurance, telecom, and more. 10X Nerds comes in, audits your expenses across 30 plus categories, and finds immediate savings. And here's the kicker. They only get paid if they save you money. It's a complete no-brainer. If you want to keep more of what you make, go check them out at 10xnerds.com. This episode is brought to you by Rakowski Law Firm. If you're a business owner or have built a level of wealth, but you don't have your estate plan dialed in, you're exposed. Rakowski Law Firm helps families and business owners protect their assets, avoid probate, and make sure everything transfers exactly how it should. This isn't just paperwork, it's a real strategy to protect your legacy. If you haven't looked at your plan in a while or don't have one, go to rakowskilawfirm.com. This episode is brought to you by Blue Collar Business Advisors. If you're running an HVAC, plumbing, electrical, or landscaping, or any other type of home service business and wondering where all the money is going despite growing your revenue, you need to talk to Paul Maskill. Paul has scaled and sold multiple blue-collar businesses and now helps business owners improve cash flow, profitability, and financial clarity through outsourced CFO services. His clients gain a better understanding of their numbers, build predictable profits, and create a business that supports the life they actually want. One of the things I appreciate most about Paul is he's not just a finance guy. He's been in the trenches as an owner. He understands the challenges of running blue-collar businesses because he's done it himself. If you're doing a few $1 million a year in revenue and want to stop guessing at your numbers and start building real wealth, head over to bluecollaradvisors.com. That's thebluecollaradvisors.com and schedule a discovery call with Paul and his team. Blue Collar Business Advisors, helping blue-collar business owners build financially healthy companies and achieve permanent profitability. This episode is brought to you by Corberry Digital. If you own an HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing, or home service business and you're tired of wondering where your next lead is coming from, you need to check out Corberry Digital. Corberry specializes exclusively in helping home service companies dominate their local markets through SEO, Google Ads, local service ads, websites, content marketing, and lead generation systems that actually produce a measurable ROI. Their team doesn't just focus on clicks and impressions, they help contractors lower customer acquisition costs, increase qualified leads, and build a marketing engine that scales. What I like about Corberry is they understand the blue-collar space. They aren't trying to be everything to everyone. Their entire focus is helping trades businesses win in their backyard and generate more profitable jobs. If you're looking to grow your business, improve your online visibility, and build a marketing system that works, visit Corberry.com and schedule a strategy session with their team. That's Corberry.com. Tell them you heard about them on the podcast. This episode is brought to you by my friend Silas Lagoy over at ForgeMark Wealth. If you're a high-income business owner or professional and feel like you're getting crushed by taxes, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not stuck. ForgeMark Wealth specializes in advanced legal tax strategies and wealth planning designed to help you keep more of what you make, grow it efficiently, and actually build long-term freedom, not just income. If you're making serious money but don't have a real strategy behind it yet, I highly recommend connecting with Silas and his team. What's up, everybody? This episode is sponsored by ExitWise. If you're a business owner thinking about selling your company, whether that's now or years down the road, you need to know what your business is actually worth and how to maximize that exit. That's exactly what ExitWise does. They help you prepare, position, and ultimately sell your business by assembling a world-class team of M&A experts around you, guiding you from valuation all the way through closing. If you want to know what your business is really worth and how to increase that number before you sell, go check out exitwise.com and get ahead of it. This episode is brought to you by Jonathan Keim and the teams at 360 Commercial Roofing and Top Roof Marketing. If you own or manage commercial property or you're a roofing contractor looking to grow, Jonathan has spent more than a decade helping businesses protect their buildings and scale through proven commercial roofing and marketing systems. His companies specialize in commercial roofing solutions, roof asset management, and marketing built specifically for the roofing industry. Whether you need a trusted commercial roofing partner or want to generate more qualified roofing leads, check out 360 Commercial Roofing or Top Roof Marketing. You can go to www.360, like 360, commercialroofing.com, and Top Roof Marketing, www.toproofmarketing.com. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Big Hitters Podcast. I am excited for this episode. I'm on with George Donaldson, who is president, CEO of the Fix It Group. Not a small sized home services company, a fairly large home services company. I'll let George share the relevant and pertinent information on that. But George, you've been at it for a while. I love in our initial conversations leading up to this how you have embraced, private equity, and I'm interested to kind of dive into that. But talk a little bit about your business, share a little bit about your story, and give some context maybe around the Fix It Group and where it's at in terms of size and scale.
Sure, it'd probably be easiest if I just tell you kind of a Reader's Digest version of my whole background that goes all the way to where we're at today in Fix It Group.
Sure.
Because it all kind of ties together. Became an electrician straight out of high school when I was 18. Commercial company. Went from there to a small residential company in Denver. It was about $1 million a year when I joined the company. Ran a truck for 2 years. The total company was just starting HVAC and plumbing, still about $1 million in size. And the owners decided they were getting divorced. Wife puts me, 22-year-old kid, in charge, and I grow that company from 1 to 17 million over the next 4 years. And at first on accident, because I didn't know like the way I ran a company. I laugh today because it was not the way you should. It was really just leadership ability at the time that it was growing. But joined SGI, Clockwork Home Services. Back then it was called SGI and Airtime 500. Now it's called Certain Path. Still a part of the organization, but that better taught me how to run a company. And Clockwork had, at the time anyway, owned the 1 hour Ben Franklin, Mr. Sparky franchise.
Yeah.
And here in Denver, Colorado, we that our branch was the first to have all three brands under one roof. So we joined that organization, and my personal goal had become, I wasn't going to get past the owner unless we got acquired. So really wanted to become part of Clockwork, and this part fits. The reason why I wanted to is because the owner of it was Jim Abrams. You may have heard that name, doing podcasts before, because he really pioneered our industry. And he's the only guy to this day to ever take a company public in our space. And that was Service Experts back in 1981, I think it was, or 1983, somewhere in there. And when they went public, it initially did well. And it got to a point where you could imagine back then a $10 million company was unheard of, very few of them. And so trying to scale with a bunch of small acquisitions throughout the US was very difficult to scale. And so they were going to start acquiring commercial companies. And so he realized that wasn't going to work. And so they bought him out, he got out. And while he waited his non-compete, he realized to be successful in the public market, we all have to be the same. That's actually where the 1 hour Ben Franklin, Mr. Sparky kind of franchise started. Is he realized from going public that experience, that we had to be the same for the public markets to ever let us back. And they've never let us back to this day. And I'll get back to that. But I wanted to be, at the time, he wanted to take Clockwork public. And so I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to figure out how to become a shareholder and how to be part of that. So ran our companies perfectly to their franchise system. And we ended up getting acquired in 2007. I became one of their regional managers, and 8 months later in 2008. And got some challenges on the East Coast, specifically Nashville was my biggest challenge. Got that turned around, and then I got promoted to the West Coast, where they had their biggest challenges. Really, anytime Jim would talk about why we haven't had an IPO yet, is because of these bad acquisitions they made in Southern California. I actually remember being in a place before we were even acquired where Jim would always talk about that. And I remember praying, like, God, put me anywhere, just don't put me there. And I was a pretty young, confident person at the time, but I was like, I watched a lot of big names go there and not be able to fix them and kind of gone from the company. And I literally prayed, God, put me anywhere, just not there. Well, guess where I get promoted? Southern California. Kind of how God works, right? And so I go there, I fix it throughout 2009. At this point, Direct Clockwork is now on a different path. They're selling to Direct Energy. And they're going to sell their store in Southern California. So I actually end up buying it. So not only did I pray to never put me there, I ended up buying it and owning it. And so throughout 2010, I stayed a regional manager, helped with the transition to Clockwork. All my stores hit double digit profitability in 2010. Grew my company that I now owned in Southern California from 6 to 36 million over the following 4 years in Southern California. Was Direct Energy acquired those brands, we didn't see eye to eye in a lot of things, and I decided to find my way out. And so got out, um, ultimately, changed brands to Right Time Home Services, created our own brand. A year later, ARS came and made me an offer on the business that I thought I couldn't refuse. I tell people to this day, it's my only business regret in life is selling that company, because that would have been, it'd probably be worth over 300 million today. That company would be, if I didn't do that. And anyway, we had an amazing culture there, a lot of fun. And so I retired. I stayed on with ARS for 2 years. Really got to they were the only private equity backed company at the time. Um, and so I got to learn. I didn't report to the board, but I got a lot of experience kind of with private equity, kind of at that time, and kind of how it worked as a corporate officer of ARS. And so 2 years of that, I retired. Thought I retired from the industry altogether. That only lasted 7 months, and then we decided to buy a company in Denver, Colorado. And when we did so, me and a couple people that had worked with me before, we said, hey, let's just grow this, buy something small, grow to 10 million, and just kind of grow slowly from there. And, not try to, the bigger you get, there's pros and cons to everything. There's a lot of stress. And so we bought this company, 1.7 million a year, apartment maintenance contract revenue, no client base to speak of. And so we knew we were going to weed that out. We were basically buying a name. And we grew to 10 million the first year. Next thing you know, we're 19 million the next year. And this was during, this was 18, 19, 20, when private equity was entering our space pretty heavy. And so I realized, every consolidation era of the history of our space have imploded in the end. And the reason why was the same story I just told you with Service Experts is true with Dial One, Blue Dot, ARS, Direct Energy, any of them. They don't do well long term because they're different everywhere. And so I watched all these platforms being built where they have the same, they all have ServiceTitan, they all have some of the same integrations, and they say they're integrated. And if you don't do it right from the foundation, like, it is almost impossible to go backwards and truly make everything integrated and the same. And so we set out our playbook. Obviously, we've scaled many times. In our story, my story, I owned a different one in Arizona and Seattle. I'm just giving you and those scaled very fast. I just gave you the quick version of kind of my story, but our playbook works. And everything we've ever acquired to this day that we've within 2 years, there's only one I dumped in 6 months. But other than that, every single thing I've ever owned has more than doubled. The worst one, besides the one I dumped in 6 months, I sold it for what I bought it for. The worst, besides that, in our whole career, my whole career, is it doubled in 24 months. The rest, on average, over triple. And so the playbook works, right? And so I realized the playbook works. We're going to set out to build a platform the right way. So in middle of 2020, we did that, started a platform. Building the infrastructure is very difficult, building out corporate and building out, not creating the corporate atmosphere that a lot of places have, where it's kind of becomes an us versus them situation, and general managers don't truly have the autonomy to run their branch. Every one of our general managers have the autonomy to run their branch within our system. And so we have now grown Fix It Group from 1.7 to 200. We'll be 230 million after this next acquisition in 6 weeks. in 9 years, and 19 to that 230 in 6 years.
So you've been acquiring businesses the whole time before you started leveraging private equity. How are you doing most of your acquisitions in the early years?
Just they're all different, so no two are the same. Um, Either my own capital or structuring a deal with the payment plan with the owner is another way. Um, there's some where I bought a portion. Well, I might buy 51%, and so you know anytime I bought 51%, the guy who sold it and kept 49%, obviously, as we scaled it very fast, did better with that than he would have selling the whole thing all at once.
Yeah.
And so I think with the track record that I've been able to have, there's been several interested in that over my career.
So you talk about the playbook. I mean, it's interesting to me. I'm so curious what the playbook entails. Is it your technicians primarily? And you don't have to give us the secret sauce, but
Yeah,
is it what are the two or three things that you really look to implement from day one in a business?
yeah, and I can give some of the secret sauce because it's people think they can copy it, but they can't because you'd have to change it. You'd have to understand everything that goes with it. But one of the things I'll tell you is our ability to drive an amazing positive culture. There's a lot to that. A lot goes into how to do that, but there's a lot of little things that we do to drive a culture where good people will never leave. Their income is higher than it would be anywhere, and it starts. The reason why we're able to do that is our leadership style is servant leadership. So from me and our leaders of our organization, my job is to serve them well. Their job is to serve all of our people well, develop them, truly serve them by changing people's lives. Their job is to serve our client really well. And if we all just truly embody that in everything we do, we can't lose. And so we all believe in that strongly. Our mission statement is honor God, serve people, and have fun doing it. I think the culture of still having God in, being able to talk about that in a branch and not being scared of that is a big deal. But our culture is a big part of our playbook. Then the way we go to market. So, you know, Andrew, have you had an HVAC tech come do a maintenance on your home?
You know, it's hilarious. Uh, like the short answer is yes, and we probably need one now. And it has been really hard actually to find somebody to do it. So maybe it's fortuitous that you and I are talking.
Yeah, well, it's going to be hard in July, I would say. But last time
Yeah,
you had it done, what you don't have to tell me who it is, but just tell me what did they do?
we had our furnace replaced.
No, no, no. I mean, well, okay, but a maintenance. Like when somebody came, the last time they came to do a maintenance, what did they do? Maybe
That's a
before
great
they told you you need
question.
to replace it instead, like, right? I mean, what does somebody
Yeah,
do when they come to your home and do a maintenance on your home?
yeah, yeah. I don't know that I could say it back to you. I just
Yeah,
know that
look,
the
and
house
and you
wasn't
talk to
hot.
HVAC guys all day, every day, right? And you don't know,
Yeah,
right? I mean, and the truth is nobody knows. I mean, if you don't know, nobody knows.
yeah.
And so what the reason why nobody knows is because here's what my competitor will do. They will come to your home and they'll be checking for stuff, a motor overamping, leaking oil, other things. Their whole goal is to come sell you something. And by the way, the client, all they know is this guy's going to try to sell me something. They're thinking it. And within 20 minutes, that's what's happening. And so the trust is just out the door pretty quick, right? And so a lot of those clients actually are now put on the market and come to us or come to some other competitor, and they literally lose that client they just paid for because of just and this is the basic interaction. And a lot of clients don't try to even call to get the maintenance done because they don't know what it is. And so we exploit this in our advertising. But one thing we do, and this is what maintenance is supposed to be, is we actually take apart the system and clean it every time. We
Hmm.
pull your blower motor and clean it. Every time we make an acquisition, our biggest challenge is we go in and this company that we're now partnered with, the technicians will say, "Oh, well, I used to get paid X, Y, and Z when I did those blower cleanings. I could sell it. And so they would be able to sell it to a client, and literally most competitors call it a rejuvenation or just whatever they call it, and charge a client $500 to $1,000 to do what we do in our regular maintenance. And that's if they even offer it. Most don't. And so usually when Johnny says this, we say, okay, well, let's see how many you sold in the last year, Johnny. And there's like two at max, usually zero. It's like, okay. What they're really saying is, wait, I have to do more work for less pay than I would have got if I would have sold that. And our answer is yes. However, if you do the work and truly understand the mentality of the client, they're got when it when they do have the recommendations you have, because we're going to find the same stuff our competitors going to find. So if a motor's overamping, we're going to find that too. They're going to trust us. you know Now a lot of people will say, well, what if you spend all that time and they don't buy anything from you? Yeah, it's going to happen often, but that client's going to stay with me because I'm going to do the right thing by the client. They're going to realize that, and they won't use anybody else. Now this whole training, the whole communication and what to do with the client, I just gave you a little piece of it, is 4 hours long.
Hmm.
But the way we go to market and then our advertising now exploits our competitors. And so telling the clients what I just told you in our marketing, like, we are very different, and everybody's had this done and they don't know what the person does. By the time we're done, you will know exactly what we do and why. You'll understand what the competitors do because we'll educate you on what you probably had done before. And this is probably what happened before. This is what we do. This is how we're different. And so that's obviously a big part of the playbook, because most of the industry is earn them and burn them, right? How much can I get out of them today? And I truly don't care about them later. And even though at the same time, they do want to get them under a membership, but they're going to be less successful because the client doesn't understand the benefits of a membership if they don't even know what you do when they come do these maintenances, right? And so in a nutshell, that's the industry in a nutshell, and we're very different. I've there's the reason why I'm not afraid to say this is because if a manager or business owner walked into his team today and said, hey, this is what we're going to start doing, he would have a mass exodus. So
Yeah.
we have to train our own people up with this right mentality and the right way to do things every time. Not every time, but often when we hire a competitor's technician, they're already lazy. They're able to go sell new equipment. Our guys cannot sell new equipment. So that's another thing we advertise. Our technicians not even allowed to sell you new equipment. He's not going to try to sell you new equipment. And that's what people are afraid of. If this guy's going to try to sell me something, he's going to tell me, I have to replace it right now. They've had that happen 20 minutes into the door. Like, our guy's never going to do that.
Yeah. I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, am I just a sucker because this guy sold me a furnace last time he was in my house? You know?
Might be. Might be. We
Yeah.
also get free second opinions. We advertise that too.
I should
For
have, yeah.
that exact reason, in case you may
Should,
not have needed to. I don't know.
should have called the
I,
Fix It group. Should have called the Fix It group. Yeah. I love that.
yeah.
I know that private equity has obviously come in. I've had a couple larger, uh, over 100 million in sales come on the show recently. Some embrace PE, some have not. I'm curious to hear, like, people that have embraced it, like, seem to love it and they found a good PE partner. I'm kind of curious to hear what your experience has been, and then maybe just your commentary on how that's affecting the industry in general.
Yeah. Look, I think there's a lot of the horror stories are true. I mean, you hear what consistently with some groups that people say consistently change all the leadership out. They might, pay some high multiple, but they're gonna, yeah, if you truly care about your people and where your people are gonna end up, there's certain you should look into it, right? And so now with that said, it's amazing if you get, I mean, it's really important to me. I have a strong reputation but I'm talking with anybody about partnering with us and it's a good fit. I connect them with several previous business owners that aren't with the company but are still shareholders. And so they could talk about, you know, Dallas. was one of our first acquisitions that we made in this, aside from Fix It 24/7 in Denver. And the entire leadership team is still there to this day. It's been 4 years. Every
Hmm.
one of them. Three have been promoted, or four, three or four have been, no, four have been promoted. Um, uh, into either into higher, backfilling the GM who's now regional, or some into corporate, some promoted within the branch. 100% of their leadership is still there, and the owner has now had three bites of the apple. And so he, obviously, he has a great story to tell. I don't have a single business owner, besides one that I bought a day away from bankruptcy, challenging situation in Southern California, that we knew was a just an opportunistic thing, that it was just way worse than we thought it was. The way it was ran, it was a absolutely terrible company. And so aside from that one person, maybe, uh, I don't have a single person that sold their business to us that don't love us. Not
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. That's incredible, and such a cool like story, because I think a lot of people see PE as like the 800-pound gorilla. My thinking around this, George, by the way, was changed by the plumb line guy, who has a great PE partner, and he's doing great.
Yeah.
So it's kind of curious to hear the ins and outs and all the in betweens. I think it's a huge opportunity. Like, who doesn't want, number one, to get minted by PE and ride off into the sunset? Number two, um, like someone who can come alongside you and help you grow, and your interests are aligned. It makes total sense to me. It's a
Yeah.
slam
Look,
dunk.
my recommendation would be this. Look, if you are a truly a stud operator, and you have no reason to want to exit the business, um, P I wouldn't necessarily recommend PE to that person. Any other than that, like if you're not like super advanced, I mean, at this point, ahead of AI in the industry, AI that's coming in marketing, all the world changes that are happening right now. If you're not that, if you're not a super skilled operator that's up to date with all the changes live coming with Google right now and everything else, then you should consider it. Because I know of people that kind of were looking into it, but a little bit arrogant, that are now like, crap, my EBITDA's backwards over 50%. I've been trying to get it back to where it was for 3 years now, and I can't. And so they should have went then, when they were, but greed plays a part in it too. But I would tell you, like, if you're not, I mean, that's why I ultimately myself, even though I'm a good operator, I wanted to be part of what was changing the world. I didn't want to be in competition with it. And so I wanted to learn the private equity side myself, which I have now. Um, I would recommend, unless you're a great operator, to definitely consider it. Because if you got, a decent EBITDA right now, if you don't stay ahead of what's changing right now, and all the money that's now in the space with all of this private equity, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of AI, you kind of sparked my thought on that. Two questions on this. How do you see it affecting the blue collar space, home services in particular, and then how are you guys leveraging it at the Fix It Group?
Yep. It just, I think, just like most companies, it's making you more efficient. It's not going to replace what we do, right? That's the good news. Unless they start creating robots that can start doing. Now, I will tell you, there will be homeowners that can now troubleshoot their own stuff a lot easier with AI. And so there'll be that. So it could make it a little bit tougher. But with that said, I think, we use it makes us more efficient. So we use it to, we use Rilla. We use Rilla very differently than I think most companies. But it's learned our process, our sales system that's unique to us. It's not Certain Path, Nextstar, Uncle Joe, any of these other sales systems out there. It's very different than all of them. Li- almost opposite as some of those. And AI's learned it, so Rilla's learned it, and really can give us a score on every single call with every single guy. And so I think we use that well, but we use it in our culture to help people, not to micromanage them, right? I think there's a big difference there. So you could use it the wrong way to hurt yourself, and you could use it the right way to help yourself.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Call center, like the right AI, you don't even know it's AI when you're calling to book a call. Now that's ever changing. We've had some AI that sounded amazing and was best, and today isn't, because they're changing it on their end. Well, I don't know what exactly, but it doesn't sound exactly like it did. So it's something to stay on top of because it's ever changing very fast. But that's something we utilize. It's much better than any call center. I mean, any answering service, I should say, than we've ever had. And but it's still best to answer the phone live today. Now, with that said, will
Yeah.
that be true a year from now, 2 years from now? I don't know. So we use that. We use, uh, even just Chat GPT. Even guys in the field can use Chat GPT, Grok, AI to help them be more efficient with their job. And a lot
Yeah.
of our people do that.
Yeah. I'd be curious to ask you this question because I think at different breakpoints, people have different problems. But what's going really well with your business, and then what's a big challenge you guys are facing in right now?
Um, you know, uh, the answer to that is both the same answer. What's going really well is we just made 5 acquisitions in the last 100 days. Um, that creates challenges, for the team. It's kind of burying our accounting team right now with getting everybody integrated and caught up, because integrated for us is truly, in the end, is everything that we do. And we're able to do that in a way where people just adapt best practices, and nobody from our team has to go in there and say, hey, you guys got to do this, this, and this. It's more like, hey, look at what everybody else does in this area, this area, this area, and kind of come to your own conclusion, make your own decisions. And 100% of the time, they end up adapting to all of our processes.
Yeah.
And so, at the beginning of this year, we had 5 branches. Today I have 11. Uh, in 6 weeks, I'll have 12. So with fast growth creates challenges. That's our biggest challenge right now, is just getting kind of everybody on the same page. But I think we're doing that pretty seamlessly, considering,
How do you
five,
do?
five, five in that short period of time.
How do you do that, George? Like, what's the first thing you have to do? Is it transitioning them over to your payroll system? And like, what are the first two, three, five things you have to do when you acquire a business?
Great question. I think that's the problem with a lot of private equity groups, is they have step one, two, three, and do it in week one, two, three, four, five. Every single one, we put together a unique plan to that branch. Who's the leader? Is it changing? Is it the same? Is the owner staying on? Right? That's a big difference on timing. If the owner's staying on and he wants to start making decision changes, cool. Like, people are used to that. If it's a new leader, like, he's got a 90 days of building relationships, before doing any, like, before they trust him. And so that's one thing. Their marketing today is different. There's no 2 acquisitions the same. So everybody does everything so different, that's the problem with the public markets. And again, back to the public markets, you got some of these bigger private equity groups that are now kind of in the same boat, where there is no private buyer. They have to go public, right? Apex has to go public. There's no such thing as a private buyer. Well, you got to have a lot of consistency and a lot of showing growth over a certain time before the public markets will ever let us get there. And maybe, we all hope they get there, because it's good for all of us if they do. But you know, the public markets have not let us back since that one time. Um, but no 2 acquisitions are the same. I think that's where we're unique. We go in and make a unique plan custom to that branch and what the timeline's going to be. And even what I say today on what the timeline's going to be might not, it doesn't have to hit that timeline. Like, we want to make sure it's really the branch adopting things rather than us saying, here's what you have to do.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. What do you look for in an acquisition? Like, what are the one or two kind of telltale signals that this person's a good acquisition for the Fix It Group?
Somebody who's taking care of their client well. The client experience and taking care of the client, super important to us. Client retention. Um, we look at those things. Longevity of the company. We often look at how many memberships they have, uh, the heating and cooling hours of the market we're going to, something important, obviously. And so we just look at, from a culture standpoint too, like, what fits well with our culture and kind of how we do things. There's a lot of different culture types. There's the micromanagement type, and there's the kind of yell at them in the morning meetings and say, now to go take care of my clients type culture. And then there's the motivating, inspiration, training, development type culture, which is what we are. So we look for places that are more in line with that. That would be you know, a good culture fit for our overall. The bigger we get, the harder it is to truly keep an amazing culture. And we've been able to do that so far successfully.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine that's got to be one of the most challenging things. What you've alluded to a couple bad acquisitions. I'm curious if you're willing to share anything that kind of happened with
One,
those.
no, look, this thing was literally a day away from bankruptcy. We knew that. Oh, well, I didn't know it was a day away from bankruptcy till it was like we got to close tomorrow. But we knew it was in bad shape, and it was going under pretty quick. And this was owned by a person who actually is out there mentoring HVAC companies today. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, I didn't have the resources in the marketplace to. We turned it around and got it stable, and then I sold it. And so, and it's been sold again since then. But it's a company that we got stable. We took in a very bad place, got it stable in 6 months. If we would have kept it for 2 years, I believe it would have done well. But we wanted to get to round two in our. We had a small private equity group, and so the biggest challenge for us was like, if we want to exit now to the next group, which we ended up doing January of last year. This was mid 24. Then we're like, we either keep this and wait till 25, 26 before we exit, or just sell this. We sold it for what we bought it for. And so you know I say bad. I think we would have turned it around. I mean, it was bad, but we knew it was bad when we bought it. So I'm not going to sit here and say I was surprised. We were not surprised. Probably a little worse than I thought, I guess. But um you know we just realized we did that too soon. If I were to do the same thing today, we would get there much quicker. We have a lot more resources now today.
Yeah, yeah. I had a thought and then I lost it. Oh, we have a lot of guys that listen to the show that are in that $3 to $10 million range, and I think everybody dreams about riding off of the sunset. What would you say to those operators now? What can you be doing right now to get the multiple, that you want one day to have generational wealth?
Um, First off, investing in your company's growth right now. I mean, if you're already 10 and want that now, like if you're 7 to 10, you can get that now if you wanted to. It just depends on what it is you want exactly, right? What amount do you want? What does that whole thing look like? If you're 3 to 4, like you definitely got a ways to go. But you need to build a team. So you need to have the whole company. Like there's a guy I know that's trying to sell a company in LA, but the whole thing revolves around him. He does all the sales, he has no management team. He's like, my EBITDA is, you know, he thinks it's some huge number and it's not. It's like, okay, well, the buyer is not going to have you, so he's not going to have that. And so if the owner is fully like most of the company wearing five hats, then that's not really a viable business. It's not a business, right? It's a person. And so, you got to have people in place. You got to have operations managers, call center manager, controller. I would highly recommend having all those positions in place and then getting your EBITDA to 1 million or higher is what they need to do.
And then how do I know, just maybe in layman's terms, I think everybody understands EBITDA, but I don't think anybody really understands EBITDA. Like if I'm
Yep.
a $7 to $8 million guy, what is most likely my EBITDA, assuming a decent profit margin?
So it's probably 10%. Most
Okay.
commonly is 10%. Highest is typically 15% of your sales. And so all they know their profit line, right? And so all you gotta, if you have truck leases in there, you gotta add that back. Some owner expenses, like let's say owners run a lot of stuff through their business. It's very common. And so like anything that an owner uh, runs through the company, like if he does a remodel on his own house or whatever, like all that stuff can be listed as an add back. and it's over the last period, 12-month period, right? So you get to add all that stuff back, interest, any interest you add back, and then to that bottom line, they typically know what the bottom line is, the profit is, plus those things added back is your EBITDA
Yeah.
in layman's
Yeah.
terms.
It's such an interesting, I'm in the heart of Cherry Creek, and if I throw a rock, I hit a private equity firm. So it's always interesting to me, like, to hear like what's hot. Roofing's really hot. Fire safety is really hot. It's always so curious to me, like, but I had a $150 million HVAC guy on the other day. He's like, the consolidation in the HVAC space, we're not even close to what it potentially could be. If he mentioned pest control, you look at pest control, like the top 5 companies are a huge percentage of the space. HVAC, we're nowhere even near that. So the consolidation, he argued, is going to continue. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts
It
are on
is.
that front.
No, it's true. I mean, the majority of the industry is still mom and pop shops. It's true.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so, but that's actually good for us that are in it. There's a lot of upside still,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's good
Uh,
for the person that does want to exit one day. I will tell you this though, there will be a point where the multiples come way back down to 4, 5, 6 max. History has always repeated itself. Every time it goes up, it always comes right back to where it is. Now, I don't know if that's, it could be a world event this year. It could be 5 years. It could be 10 years, but as some of these private equity, unfortunately, if some of the platforms don't do well and that starts to happen more, it'll kill the multiples for everybody. And I'm just telling you, that's going to happen at some point.
yeah. Yeah. What's one thing we haven't talked about today, George, that gets you fired up? Could be culture, team, vision, could be your faith. Something we haven't talked about today that gets you excited.
Yeah, you know what? Well, you mentioned faith, so that's definitely that's definitely what's driven me my whole career. And from that is just helping people, developing people. The thing that excites me the most, you know, I have 800 team members today. We'll have, after our next acquisition, coming up in 6 weeks, we'll have over 1,000. That's 1,000 families that I'm responsible for, and you know, having a culture of development and developing people's lives and changing people's lives in the over my career so far up till now, and then just the organization, whether it be me or different leaders in the company, their lives have changed because of people in this organization. Is That's what truly fires me up. I know there's people that say that, and I don't know, but that truly is who I am. Since I was 20, when I was 22 years old and became a manager, I literally said at that time in my life, when I'm done with my career, I want as many people to say as possible that I got to where I got to in my life. And part of it was because, a big part of it was because of that guy. So that's what drives me.
Hmm. I love that, man. That's so powerful. Well, George, I'll probably want to have you back on the show. I like to have, especially owners and founders that are, larger in size and scale. But where can people go to learn more about you, the Fix It Group, the whole 9 yards?
There's a little, the Fix It Group. Thefixitgroup.com is our corporate website. That doesn't tell a lot about me specifically, and we're growing so fast. I gotta see how updated that is too. But I'll tell you this, Andrew, like if they go to, if they, not many will, one or two will, but if you're a business owner and want to be more mentored on how, like I do this for free, I've never charged a dime, but I actually mentor people that want to exit. And there's some that have exited with other people. It doesn't have to be me, but I've helped them get, again, I just want to help people get to where they want to get to. And if the partnership is best with us, great. If it's with somebody else, great. But I actually am willing to mentor people, no charge, for free. Had a bet, and if nothing else, they don't have to exit. They'll have a better business. But my email is gdfiredup@gmail.com. If they email me there asking for that mentorship, I actually do that for fun.
That's amazing. That's an amazing opportunity. I mean, look, you're doing it. You've done it. You've been in the industry. You're actively acquiring businesses. You have a great bird's eye view. Guys, take him up on that. Like, George has been so kind on all our calls. He's a really solid dude. And so that's an amazing opportunity. So thank you for making that offer to our listeners. And George, can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast. Definitely want to have you back on the show. Don't go anywhere because I want to keep talking, but thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
All right, thanks.